if you've got the money, you can buy anything, and there is something that gets filtered out by money. We all want to earn it, we all want to have it, we all want to have items that are worth money when we're in the collecting world. But if you've got all the money and you can just buy anything, you kind of lose, it gets watered down.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Collectibles House Podcast. We're here at 50 Baker Street and we just finished filming up with a pretty exciting guest that we've had on today, Alex Jenkins from the film Memorabilia and World of Comics, Collectibles, Toys. I don't know what you thought about that one, Rich?
Yeah, amazing guest. I think you guys are really going to enjoy the episode. Some great stories, fun guy, and some awesome stories.
Yeah, we've got some really exciting bits from the behind the scenes of the world of filming. A few bits from Gladiator, and some exciting stories of meeting a certain famous Mr. T, which I think everybody's going to really enjoy sticking around for in particular, as well as a few tips in regards to the sort of collecting. He's had some really cool bits in terms of passion for people looking at memorabilia and toys and collectibles alike. I don't know if there's any particular bits that stood out for yourself.
Yeah, I think like just hearing his stories about some of the original pieces that he had. That's always our favourites, I think, because that's where a lot of this comes from, passions. So I think anyone looking to reconnect with their childhood, can look at these auctions. Obviously, he's got a new auction coming up in February. 20th century lots, and there'll be some amazing pieces in there. So I think just hearing his stories, seeing some of the amazing bits that he had a chance to bring along is pretty cool.
Yeah, excuse the pun, but there's some real behind the curtain stuff coming here with this one. So sit back and enjoy. Morning, Alex. Thanks for coming down. How you doing? You okay?
Not too bad, thank you.
Lovely. Yeah, we're excited to have you here today, and obviously run through a few of the details of illustrious past you got in terms of collecting memorabilia.
Dodgy past. Okay, all right, yeah, carry on.
We can cut that in and cut that out. We'll decide on that later. But I don't know if you could maybe just give us a quick, obviously we've had a chat off camera, but maybe a quick intro of obviously yourself and your origin stories. Another word.
How very Stanley.
Yeah, there we go.
That was good. Yeah, with great power and all that. Well, as you said, my name's Alex. The company I'm starting, or is started and is on its way, is 20th Century Lots, and it's very much about everything we love. Started with comics as a kid, 1978, in fact, just to make me feel really old, and carried on into collecting, through to collecting and selling to fuel the collection, through to being a dealer and trading, and then to an auctioneer, and to this point where everything is about connectivity and memorabilia and what's popular from the 20th century. Yeah.
Okay, so it's started personally collecting and it's sort of built from there, or was it something you kind of fell into with the auction side of things?
It's one of those things where it's just a natural progression, and I tried the real world of working, and that doesn't work for me personally. And it's I mean, you're never going to enthuse over, like, one company I worked for was a door lock company, and even to this day,
very exciting.
Oh, is that a Magna lock? I go, oh no, don't. And it's not quite the same as saying, so what was your first comic? Well, it was Marvel 2-in-1, Spider-Man versus Captain Britain, and the classic cover of them fighting on the scaffold of a big building construction site. And that's what led you in. And then people, you sort of start to talk about that stuff to normies, and they look at you as if to say, yeah, how old are you again? What's you in your 50s? You are in your 50s, aren't you? Okay, all right, yeah. But yeah, it formed with that, and the collecting kind of came into it once the bug was there, and collecting comics and trading cards. And then there was a wonderment moment where my uncle, actually about the same time, met my aunt, who was from Chicago. So every once in a while, her parents would come over and visit and bring me Marvel goodies from the States.
Okay.
And so back in that time, you didn't see any of
How
that
old
stuff.
were you here?
So I'm about 10 at this time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
9,
so we
10,
are talking
something around there.
You're not passionate about door locks yet?
We'll leave the door locks. We'll move on from the door locks. But so they would bring over things like sliding puzzles with the classic Hulk images on, and Captain America items, like Captain America yo-yo and all this kind of thing.
Cool.
But I'd show them to my friends, and because we never got that stuff over here, there was no internet, there was no shipping, and everything was American comic that was in 10p comic form.
Yeah.
The big comics. And to find American comics was comic shows and that kind of thing, which were few and far between, but they were out there. But when these items came across, it was just wonderment stuff. And that's just never changed.
Yeah.
So even now, if I go through a box of comics at auction, a box of comics comes in and it's a nice old vintage box, and you're flicking through, and you just kind of go, oh, you know, and you're going to tuck that one to the back. Yeah, okay, tuck that to the back. And it is that thing, like seeing a couple of your images that you got up on the top shelf there, giant size. I mean, those were just epic comics. But the thing of it is, there are just thousands of comics every month now. And wonderful titles and wonderful artwork, and it's about everything to do with it. But there was nothing better at that time than going to your local sweet shop, and you look at the rack, you get past all the women's mags and everything else, and trying to find your comics, and then you just see a corner, and it has the image on the corner of the Spider-Man head or whatever else, and you just kind of pull it out. Oh, like this. Oh gosh! And then you have to look at your mum really, really like playfully.
Sob story.
Comic, please. You know, and. But yeah, that same enthusiasm was just carried all the way through.
Yeah, never lost it by the sounds of it, which is great. That's really cool. See for those listening, the absolutely beaming sort of ear to ear, which is really cool.
Yeah,
obviously, we're having a chat. This is still a relatively new area for us. Obviously, we specialise here in sort of the coins and whiskey, so it's really cool to, like you say, exciting people get in and the energy that comes with it, which is great. So have you predominantly always been comics collecting then, or
no? So it's comics, films, action figures, trading cards, which you guys deal with, which is very cool. Yeah, I mean, trading cards is one thing. It's really great fun watching now. That market has changed so hugely, where there was a point when it looked like through the gaming console kind of era where kids were moving away from physical items, comics, toys, all that kind of thing. And it looked like we were going to be a dying breed. And now everyone's kind of looking back and all the connectivity of these things. But trading cards are one thing that, 13, 14-year-olds are out there making thousands on, especially with the grading and that kind of side. And they're out there and they're just as enthusiastic. But now the things that used to be just, I've got a special card in a box, is now a media frenzy when they get a one of one. And it's, a $4,000 or $5,000 card once graded. And you've got kids out there changing hands and doing deals at Comic-Cons and card fairs and whatever. And it's just fascinating to watch. And as an auctioneer and trader and collector and whatever, it's so cool seeing all that enthusiastic behavior from young guys and girls coming out there and doing this stuff, as well as
trading cards. Is definitely
crowd.
The one that seems to have captured the young audience, because a lot of the say, memorabilia, even the coins that we deal with, stamps, are still a bit of a dying out.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, when I do the general auction world. And auctioneering, there is a very specific type of person that collects coins and stamps and that kind of thing. But you go, well, I'm not excited by it.
Explain what you mean there.
No, I think I was. Is there anything more annoying than when I'm auctioneering and somebody's rattling through a can of coins? Yeah, there's not much out there that rivals that. But but it's the same thing. I'm not interested in that area personally. It's not for me. But I can connect to anyone that gets excited, even if they pick that right coin and it's got the right year and it's in good condition, and they kind of go, they do that same thing as I did with the comic.
Yeah, of course.
That's what's really nice.
Yeah, it's the same. The same passion is still there. Obviously, just different
connectivity.
Genre. Like I say, I think with the cards and comics per se, the price and the money that can be made on them now has certainly opened it up to beyond just the pure collector.
Yeah.
There's now the investing side of it. So, go back to a story. You're about 10 years old. You're getting the first excitement of bits coming over. Fill us in the gap with where that sort of grew from there.
So I was trying to do it abbreviated. So in my teens, I would go over to the States. My uncle moved back to California.
You started going over there yourself.
And I used to go over there, and it would be mission trips to Target, Walmart, Toys R Us, that kind of thing. And it was all about the hunt, which it still is to a large degree. A lot of people are out there hunting for the things or whatever, but there's a lot more people out there hunting for stuff, which is fine. It's great fun. But yeah, I collected, brought back boxes, sent boxes back of action figures. Some of them I would keep, some of them I would go to toy fairs and this sort of thing in my late teens and 20s and go out and stall out, and people, oh my God, where have you got this from? It's going, oh, well, I couldn't possibly tell you. And they, how much is that one? £30. Here's my money. And at the time, that was a lot of money for this thing.
Yeah.
But now the world has gone crazy for the stuff that I was going out and hunting.
Yeah.
And that's really fun. But yeah, so it went from action figures, going into cinemas, asking for, if they've got any old posters, that kind of thing. Loads of kids used to do that. So a lot of collections came from doing that kind of, rescued that stuff. And then through to the 20s, my 20s, it went into collecting, but maybe buying here and there to fuel the collection, so buy 10 things to keep
So you were still just an avid collector at this point,
there,
and a little bit of a side hustle
in and out of it over the years, but it would be a side hustle, exactly as you say. And then in my 20s, I had my first daughter, and then my second one a couple of years later. So they grew up sort of seeing things coming to the house, tin toys and posters and comics and things. So they're avid superhero fans as well.
Okay, brilliant. Let's keep them out of reach though for a while.
Actually, there was a cabinet that was. Okay, don't touch, and their friends would come and go, don't touch Daddy's cabinet. And at that point, I felt kind of bad, It's kind of fun, but bad.
Just need to clarify that as well to a few people. It's a bit of like cracking the whip at home and the kid getting it.
It was that, there's that whole side, but it's great sharing that enthusiasm with the kids.
Yeah, cool.
I took them to see every Marvel movie that came out.
So they didn't have a choice, really. They were going to be fans. Yeah. Brilliant.
But now it's gone into their work world, so they're out there and they're on FaceTime meetings and they're sitting there and go, is that an original Raiders of the Lost Ark poster in the background? Yeah, it is actually. Yeah. Where'd you get that? Oh, what does your dad do? And then all of a sudden, the conversation would shift to what Dad does.
Yeah.
I think we need to get back to work.
Yeah.
But it's great. So that connectivity with them is really cool. And then in my 30s, it was more buying. I was still working, doing other jobs, but I was buying and selling and trading. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of got more and more progressive, and I started going to more auctions, and then got into film. I started doing film actually in my 20s and doing background and stunt work. And
so you were working at the film, sorry. This was something that you were working in, sort of, I guess, the genre of...
It was because I did martial arts and sword work and that kind of thing, and I trained in my teens.
Here we go.
So you're safe. I forgot half of it. But that kind of went into work as well, again, because of the connection. And I actually applied to be I saw an advert for Star Wars Episode 1. So I went for that and didn't get it, gutted. But a month later, I got a call for Merlin, a Sam Neill version of Merlin, which was great fun, and it was the first, and it used to be very different back then because you would actually get handed an axe as opposed to a rubber one and things. So during takes, we'd go off into the woods and we'd throwing axes and trees and with a cup of coffee and all this kind of, it was great fun. And always on the hunt. Talk to the prop masters, talk to plaster makers, all these different people. If there's anything if you see me at the end, is there anything, costumes, there like this?
Okay.
So I would get bits and pieces every once in a while. So I started then with that even.
Okay, so here we go. Then what's the biggest thing you've got that you wasn't supposed to take from a set?
What do you mean?
What potentially went missing that might or may not be in your...
You are casting aspersions where they're undeserved, but it was my sword from Gladiator. So yeah, there you go. Yeah.
The Gladiator.
Not the Gladiator. I think Russell Crowe might have had something.
He got something like that, but you've got one of the swords that was used during that.
Yeah, that I used. Yeah.
Sorry, you were in Gladiator. What flick? Oh, tell us.
It was.
Where are we seeing you?
So this was in Boreham Wood in the opening scenes in the Germanic lot versus the Romans, and I was a long-haired Germanic. And you had all the background guys, then you had guys that trained in martial arts and sword work and that kind of thing, and then you had the main stunt team, and I was in the group behind the stunt team with a bunch of other long hairs.
Yeah.
And
but you can actively pick yourself out because it looks like we just found our thumbnail.
Now this is where DVDs should come back, because you can see me in the making of, but can't see me in the movie. I know exactly where I am, but yeah, this is the thing. If you want to see me, it's at the end of Shakespeare in Love, and that's a little moment. But no, I didn't get the sword wielding.
Quite as cool
sword
as
wielding. I know. You don't get the sword wielding glory of Gladiator. But no, we spent I think it was about 6-7 days, something like that, in Boreham Wood, and camping out in vans in the car park, freezing tents.
Yeah, I bet.
That whole bit where the snow comes down mid-battle, now that was all real and whatever, and it was just kind of, okay, well, let's just work with it. And then by that night, we're having snowball fights in Germanic armor and all this kind of thing.
Wow.
And my sword may have accidentally made its way around the costume tents underneath the van that I was sleeping in, made my way back in, signed off, got undressed, went out to the van, accidentally picked it up and put it in the van, and then it's still with me.
happens.
So,
I mean, who's going to say no to a sword-wielding, angry Germanic man?
do you know what I mean? Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Oh,
But
wow.
no, great moments. I mean, that was one of the most epic things
That's quite
that
a
I've
highlight,
done,
I bet, for
because
sure.
what you see in the movie, other than the expansion of the armies, done with computer work, what you see is actually pretty much what you get, and flaming arrows and all the whole thing, and but there's things like in between takes, I think his name was Chip, who was the main stunt guy, the huge great guy that eventually gets taken down by about 8 Romans. He and his team were playing rugby with a severed head during the takes, and we were all just sitting in a cup of coffee and just watching a head being bounced about like a rugby ball. Russell Crowe got killed about 8 times, so that wouldn't have been any good for the rest of the movie. Yeah, he had apologetic Germans stabbing him every once in a while. Oh, I'm so sorry, in the middle of takes, things like that. Yeah, so he actually died about 8 times early on. So they don't want you to know that.
Yeah, it kills the story a little bit.
Just a
doesn't
bit,
it?
just a bit. Yeah, legacy. Not really.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah, it was good.
That's a really cool behind the scenes sort of story there. So just go back to, obviously you're working on films and, like you say, memorabilia set wise, and then that moved you on, and you then got involved in sort of actually running auctions, or
so like running auctions was, as an auctioneer, that's the aspect that I've done for maybe 15 years, somewhere around there, as a general auction house auctioneer, and trading at the same time. But everything was a kind of natural progression of, in and around the time that I left doing the filming, then I went to auctions and I was buying more and more. I'd buy private collections and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And it became about keeping 1 or 2 items here and there, but it was more about the trade then, and realizing what you could do and what people had, and getting sort of personal with people, where there's obviously a lot of people have passed away and families hand estates down. That's a big part of old collecting, and we're getting to that point now where collections like the things that we love are going to become more prominent, because people in and around my age and older, life happens, but we're going to start seeing Star Wars rooms and record memorabilia rooms, and that's just a part of it, which is sad and exciting at the same time.
Yeah.
But even back then, you found this stuff in estate sales and auctions and whatever, and it became more and more fascinating and more a part of what I do. So yeah, trips to the States, auctions, just everything, anywhere you could find things, putting it out there, buying and selling. Then I got into the auctioning as a natural progression, and now we've reached the point where I should have done this a long time ago, but I'm out there and setting up a memorabilia business that hopefully people will have that connectivity to, for all the reasons that I love film, comic, music, items, being in a place at the right time,
going out on your own venture there, your own auction coming up. So when are you hoping to have that sort of set up and launch?
So it's all in the throes at the moment. The website's being worked on at the moment. Which it's all getting quite exciting, because the people that I'm already dealing with, having put it out there in a small way, the people are already starting to come forward with decent collections and that kind of stuff. Because a lot of people have known me for auctioneering for a long time, and now that people know I'm doing this, people are starting to tell other people, and they're starting to get in touch, which is just the sort of start that I wanted, because I want to connect. But yeah, so that the business is starting up. The idea is to go forward with film props, comics, posters, music, concert related memorabilia, everything that kids are going crazy for. I mean, the rock t-shirts at the moment, original music t-shirts, are going through the roof. That's one thing that is just crazy. They were always good, but if you pick up like a Nirvana t-shirt that's a tour, or even the sort of pirate t-shirts that used to get sold outside, for a $5 or that kind of thing, even some of those are going into the hundreds, like high hundreds, for a hooky t-shirt from outside the Brixton Academy. It's just brilliant. You sort of see like a cult Sonic Temple t-shirt with the tour dates on. It's kind of like, okay, that's £400, but seeing these trends change is what makes it so brilliant.
Yeah, cool.
And I can't wait to get out there.
Provenance or something like that, because obviously like a t-shirt can be remade.
Yeah, there's Yeah, it's true. I mean, there is that thing of looking at the label for a start.
Yeah.
You know, because if you see what looks like a good T-shirt and you see Fruit of the Loom, you're kind of like, yeah, all right, whatever. But those hooky T-shirts, they did use the cheapest shirts possible as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, you'd come out of a great gig, you know, come out of a metal gig or something, or a punk gig or whatever else, and the T-shirts they had for sale or the merch they had didn't compare with the dodgy geezers outside the street, you know, that were selling all these, I want everyone for a $5, and it's posters and T-shirts and all that. And they're the ones that people want because they're the ones that everyone comes out. They're all there, and they've spent all their money on beer, and they've got just enough to get home at a T-shirt, and they can get one for a $5, and that's the memory. You know, that's that thing.
And are these the same people that are now?
Yeah, revisiting, and they've got the money. That's the difference. You got the kids that came through from kids that were in the 90s that they're going back to all their memories because they're earning decent money now, and they can afford to buy the things, you know, without the responsibility of the other stuff. So like Pokemon, I mean, don't even get me started on Pokemon, but the boom on that has a ripple effect on everything else.
Yeah.
You know, kids are looking at everything that they had as a kid and revisiting and buying and investing and enjoying. And that's brilliant. You know?
Do you think that has maybe a little bit of an impact? Because obviously we sit here, you mentioned Pokemon, you know, when we're young kids and sports cards, you had the excitement of pulling and trading your favourite players. Now kids don't have it as much as fun. They're thinking, well, I've got this card I'm pulling it for X value. It goes straight in a sleeve, straight to be graded.
True.
Do you think that differs, or what that will do with the trend moving forward to the passion? I
think there's just a difference in the excitement.
Yeah.
I think there's just a difference in the excitement. There's nothing wrong with the younger collectors kind of going forward and realizing that they can do something for themselves and enjoy what they're doing. And it's not boring. You know, they're looking at great imagery and they're looking at great comics or cards or whatever, and they can go out there and they're in a community. And that's one of the things that I've seen change over the years, which is brilliant, you know, because as a dad of two girls, conventions and Comic Cons and all that kind of thing, they always used to be so male oriented.
Yeah.
But now it's such a huge community of everyone. And whether it's trading cards, posters, cosplay, you know, whatever it might be, you go to one of those places. I was out in Florida a couple of years ago at MegaCon, and it's just eye-opening just how much enjoyment is going on. And whether they're trading and doing the slipcase and doing everything else for cash, or whether they're just out there buying their favorite character-related stuff. The community's strong.
Just having fun. Yeah,
you
for
know?
Sure. What's the best dress up or best that you've had at Comic Con?
You're asking me about
yourself?
my personal? Yeah, okay, right. Okay.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Obviously, I kept the Gladiator costume. My other half.
And how often do we wear that?
No, man. Honestly, there's one
Don't
thing.
skirt around the question.
Oh, right. Don't skirt around. Yeah. All right. Okay. Fine. Okay. I did come out in a Bob the Builder costume once, just to make her laugh, because she always said, "Well, you know, why is it that women always have to dress up?" And so I went somewhere and I got a child's Bob the Builder outfit.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be telling you this at all, of course. She'll love this. And I said, "I've done something special for you." And I came in and had the helmet on and the work belt and the whole thing there. And obviously I carry on wearing that to Comic Con. So
nice.
Nice. Yeah.
Did it get received better at home or at Comic Con?
I think we'll move on, shall we? Yeah, Comic Con. Good. Brilliant. Yeah.
That's cool. So you still go quite regularly?
I'm hoping if things work out time wise to go out to Chicago. They got a very cool con there in March in Chicago, which I'm hoping to do is a lot of the signings, a lot of the one of the cool people out there, and eventually we were talking in private about Dubai and places like that. I really want to get out there at some point, despite the fact that the market is very different for them, where they've got the money to buy anything. There is also this thing where they don't have an awful lot of stuff just sat in front of them. So things like vintage toys. You had Des Taylor in recently, and you know, he was talking about it. He loves this stuff, and he's a great guy to talk to about this.
Des is fantastic.
He's just wicked, you know, and the connection he has with old toys and G.I. Joe and, you know, Wonder Woman and all this kind of thing is infectious. And he took that over there with the Toyseum. and they picked up on that hugely. We had a great chat about this, and you know, people just hadn't seen the stuff in front of them, so they don't realize what's out there. You can look online, but things that aren't as exciting unless they're in front of you, you know, and the talk and everything that came from that was really nice. So I'd like to get out there eventually once this has worked up and maybe take something over there and introduce some fun, you know, out to their
So is that something you're probably seeing market wise? It's reaching new places, or it's still trying to reach new places?
Still trying is one thing, but it's definitely reaching as well.
And would you say that's kind of just following the money then, if it's places like Dubai, or because we are talking big money for some of these comics and stuff now, aren't we? So.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, as you know, saying before, it's you know, if you've got the money, you can buy anything, and there is something that gets filtered out by money. We all want to earn it, we all want to have it, we all want to have items that are worth money when we're in the collecting world, but if you've got all the money and you can just buy anything, you kind of lose, it gets watered down. You get, you know, you can have all the Superman first appearances and the Batmans and everything else, but if you've got the money to buy those things, that's nice, that's great, it'd be lovely to see those items, but there's still nothing better than going somewhere,
the buzz,
and just peeking through and seeing something, go, okay, I don't care if that's $500, I'm having that.
Yeah,
you know, there's that I think money can't buy. You know,
the excitement, the pure buzz, the pure chase.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Although if you've got lots of money spare, I'll take some gladly, so I can buy some of the Grail pieces I want. You know, that's fine.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So you mentioned there a couple of the Grail pieces. What sort of stuff would you consider, or what's on the radar for yourself?
Radar for myself.
Well, maybe start with what's your Grail at the minute, because I'm sure the Gladiator sword is probably right up there with some of the best pieces that you own. But what would you say
that's got a personal. Obviously, all the attention for Gladiator 2 currently has kind of brought that to the fore. So telling stories about Gladiator has come up a bit recently, and it's great fun.
Yeah.
Because it was brilliant at the time, but you had people that were into it as a cult movie before, and then when they realised that you did something on there, and the connectivity, and you see it as 1-year-old stories, but they see it, there's this whole kind of, oh my God, you're what? You know, my children's friends, and they ask these things, and you get into these stories, I can't believe you met who? You did what? And you kind of go, I know. Yeah,
that bloke that dresses like Bob the Builder on his weekends.
Right, you back off about Bob the Builder. You tell someone one thing once. Yeah, I don't know, but there's lots of moments.
So what would you be your Grail then of what's in your collection? What's your or your top one or two things?
The Grail, yeah. I have I'm sure the comic fans will know, but the Platinum Spider-Man Torment McFarlane, which is kind of a Grail for many collectors, lots of variations, and it's still being homaged hugely at the moment in comics by other comics that run the same kind of covers influenced by that.
Yep.
And
for those who might not quite know, give us a little bit of background on McFarlane Spider-Man, the impact.
Yeah, well, McFarlane came in the 90s on Torment was the big hit that was all leading up to this moment, and it's introducing the other comics from McFarlane at the time. Introduced Venom, introduced Carnage, the ones that you see in the movies icons, on now, the real icons of the Spider-Man world. That's the period, and McFarlane was responsible for bringing those in, and his artwork kind of flipped the lid on so many old comics and whatever, and everyone just went crazy for his stuff. And now, of course, he's kind of the new Stan Lee. I'm sure some people won't agree with that, but he's producing every action figure for figures that we've never had an action figure for. His company is just doing everything, like Jonah Hex and Sergeant Rock and all these great characters, Swamp Thing and whatever, that we haven't had anything much of before, or at least if they have, they've been terrible. But he's producing some great stuff. But the Platinum Spider-Man was a one. I can't remember how many were issued, and maybe 500. And if you were a comic dealer that ordered 1,000 copies of these of Torment, you got this one comic as a dealer. So they were very sparse, and I got mine signed by Stanley. I got mine. I was his brother.
God rest his soul.
That's the fake version. Got it signed by Stanley.
We'll have to check the provenance. I think if that ever pops up on auction.
I've got a couple if you want some out the back. I can do a couple more for you next week. But I got that signed by Stanley and CG Seed, and
cool.
And that's a Grail piece.
Yep.
And I have a sketch that I won at auction about maybe 15, 16 years ago, which was a sketch by Bob Kane, obviously co-creator of Batman. So that's a Batman and Robin.
Very cool.
And that's much cherished, and it's just not about the money on that. That's just Batman's my thing. And I love Batman, which was another hook to Des Taylor, funny enough. And I'm giving him more publicity than myself. Yeah. There you go. But he is that kind of guy.
Yeah.
Des has where he does Bionic Man, Batman, Wonder Woman, all these things. He loves old TV. And that was where we first met. It was Alexandra Palace, I think, somewhere like that, or maybe Olympia, and saw his stuff, and it was just that reconnect.
Cool,
very cool,
very cool.
And you brought along a couple of pieces.
If you
want to show,
starting with toys, obviously anime is just the hugest market. It's something I want people to bring to me. I want to learn more about it. I know I've had a sort of dabbling with it over the years.
I was going to say, anime is not, it is huge, of course, but not as huge over here. Do you see a big trend in different markets when you go around, not just for anime, but for, say, certain comics or certain pieces between?
I think it is pretty broad.
Yeah.
You've got things like, I grew up with things like Battle of the Planets and whatever, which everyone knows, and Ulysses and all this kind of stuff. But when it comes to toys,
he looks like he's had better days.
I'll get that in there. I figured it. But these guys, from the 70s, 80s, Shogun Warriors, all this kind of thing just means so much to a certain crowd where you got like Godzilla, giant robots, all that kind of stuff. And there's just a massive following for vintage tin toys. There's a certain collecting group that go for the vintage wind-up tin toys, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Rocket ships, guns, all that kind of stuff. But of course now, like I said about Orlando, the cosplay and the stalls that were carrying anime and manga influenced toys, comics, props, cosplay, it's huge. And there were guys running around in every kind of outfit going from these things, and I just didn't know any of them. So I'm learning about that at the moment, because that market is a really nice one to tap into.
So something like this, obviously, when we hear, again, not quite in the industry, but it shouldn't be unboxed, or once you've opened the box, what would be the value difference of something like this, like a vintage toy, to what it maybe have been purchased for, say, however many years ago, to sort of now? What would be the difference you'd see in those?
There is a market for people where they don't care whether it's unboxed or boxed. We always used to be about, if you saw 10 figures on the shelf in a toy store, you're kind of going, but that corner's got such slight little ding, and it's all that, and it was really kind of pretentious stuff. And but you got the best condition one and all that, and that was great. But there is this thing about patina and wear and whatever. If you've got you said about the things I brought in. So this is much treasured. I'll get back to this, but it's got tears, it's got rips, it's got creases, big old crease down the front there. It's yellow, pages are folded. But to me, and this is a treasured piece for me, that's just all its history.
Yeah.
It's got all the passion is in there because it's been loved, it's been read, it's been enjoyed.
Yeah.
And when you get a mint toy, and I love mint toys as well, they're great, but there's something also quite tragic about seeing a toy that's never been played with, or it's never come out the box, or a comic that's mint means it hasn't been enjoyed, it hasn't been read, that kind of thing. But investment wise, obviously,
two very different sides. Yeah.
So it's kind of fun appealing to everyone that, there are auction houses that will turn their nose up at toys that are loose, or they haven't got the box, or whatever it is. But not every collector has the money to buy a £5,000 comic. But they can buy a £500 comic or a £50 comic because it's red, or it's got creases on the spine, or that kind of thing, but you've still got that comic.
Yeah.
So people can still get the enjoyment, or they can get the investment.
And at the end of the day, if it wasn't for the people reading it, the enjoyment, you wouldn't have the value being added to the unopened ones, the perfect condition ones, right?
Yeah, exactly that. And people upgrade their collections, and they might take, so if they've got this one and that's the only one they could find, and then they go to a show and somebody's got one that's in better condition, then they'll buy that one, they'll swap it out, if they haven't got the connectivity to the original one. But they'll swap it out and they'll upgrade, and they'll keep doing that through their life, and they sell off the other ones, that fuels the collection, or does whatever. So there's that too,
Yeah, I guess it's finding that sweet spot between
Yeah.
the pure passionate side of something and then your pure investment. It's
Yeah,
nice that
yeah.
I guess probably people like yourself of pure passion and now making some good money out of some of these
Exactly.
things.
Well, yeah, there's nothing
and
wrong with
probably
that.
you probably look at people that are coming in purely just to make money without the enjoyment side of it. You know, you're trying to keep them out of the industry or not enjoying
Well,
it as
no, because
much.
they're the ones that pay the bills, right? So, you've got to have everyone.
Yep.
And that's one of the things. And it's as an auctioneer, you know, you have a room full of people, which I love a live show. Love people coming in. Not dead.
So your auctions are going to be live auctions or online?
Yeah, they'll be both.
Both.
So it'll be online, but there'll be, you know, so they broadcast the world, but there'll be a room hopefully full of people that are there to
Cool. Whereabouts
come and
you
enjoy
gonna be
the
hosting
shows.
those
That's down in
lectures?
Tunbridge Wells.
Tunbridge Wells, okay.
Yeah, in Kent. So that's the thing of it, coming in and having that enjoyment, you know.
Okay, so from your auction house, is there any tips that you can give to the listeners for if they're really into films, memorabilia, any trends that you see at the moment that they might be able to get started in purchasing these?
Yeah,
and from an investment side as well.
Yeah, sure. No, and that's fair. I think one of the things that's being enjoyed and exploited in a huge way at the moment is signings. Film memorabilia when it comes to original props, original scripts, anything that's screen used or in the production of a film, even publicity materials. There's that whole thing. There's a very huge trend for the Funko figures, which it seems like the bubble should have burst ages ago, but it's still just absolutely huge. But the signings in person at the shows, they're achievable by any money level that you may have, you know, whether you've got £50 to spare or whether you've got 5,000 or and beyond, you can go to a show and you can pick up a signed item by anyone from Lord of the Rings to, you know, Batman comics to whoever, but you can have a good time doing it. And I think for me, and to put across to other people, is have an enjoyable time doing it. You know, enjoy what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Investment wise, obviously, yes, you know, people are out there doing it just purely for that. And I understand that because, you can't beat gold. You can't beat, you know, silver. You can't beat, you know, whiskies, that kind of thing. They're all great businesses. And these things are up there as well. The unfortunate side of signings, but is the finance side, is when people pass away, of course. You know, so if you're going to go out there and start hunting down people to get autographs from, I hate to say it, but I've got friends that have got items that they're holding on to because a certain person is 96,
well,
and they're kind of like, you know,
at the end of the
I'll
day,
save
it's
that
like
a year or
artwork,
two.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess so.
you know what I mean? So Star Wars. The original Hildebrandt design for the Star Wars poster, the one that everybody loves, that featured on the back of the trading cards, as we're onto the trading cards as well, that featured on the back of the trading cards in 77, 78, when you had the blue and red cards and you flipped them over and the cards made the Hildebrandt poster on the back with Luke with a lightsaber aloft and Darth Vader head, etc. Well, Hildebrandt just died a few weeks ago, which obviously, and there's quite the legacy there because the Hildebrandt family are rife through Marvel and Star Wars and everyone else, lots of artwork, fantastic artwork out there for their stuff. But because one of them has now passed, that brings that eye onto their stuff. And that original Star Wars poster is, you know, quite the key collectible to any Star Wars fan or collector.
And have we already seen a movement in the price of them?
Yeah, so
or a lot of them
prices
coming up at
changed.
auctions now?
Yeah, they will do. There'll be people that have held on to them that, you know, especially signed things, but they have held on to pieces for a certain amount of time. But with that news, you also get the flooding of fakes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a tough side, you know, that really is, and that's one that you have to be really careful around. Okay. Autographs are great to get into, and because people are at these shows and doing cons and whatever, that's great. You're going there in person, you get it CGC'd at the time, get it back, you know, get it graded or cards or whatever else, and then you can't beat that. You cannot beat that.
Yeah.
But when you get items flooded through, you know, online companies, auction companies that are fakes, you know, as soon as people, like when Heath Ledger died, man, the you know, autographs came out on items that you couldn't possibly have signed.
Really?
You know, it was things like that. There's lots of old stories that go back decades to do with autographs and faking and companies that everyone trusted that went under because they were found to fake, you know, stuff like that. So you have to be really careful, but the cons do help younger and less financially sound folks go out there and have fun getting them, and they know they've got the real thing.
Yeah.
But you can go out there with your great valuable collection like Star Wars posters and go out and get them signed, and you know that they're right. Take the photograph, pay the money, get it done right. That's one of my biggest tips, I would say, is go out, get it done right.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So are you seeing sort of more people looking at film memorabilia as well as another avenue beyond, obviously the biggest has always been comic book collecting.
Yeah,
when
yeah,
it comes
of
to
course.
collecting, that's probably always been the main thing people have looked at.
Yeah. I mean, the film memorabilia is a harder one. You definitely have to have some money to buy the key
Because
pieces.
I was going to say, probably access is really difficult for most people. It isn't mass produced when you're looking at real
Exactly
film.
that.
And like you say, the actual provenance when it is coming to be sold, it must be quite difficult or a hard area to navigate.
That's it. No, that's exactly that. And you have got, without naming them, but you have got several auction houses in the States and here that are very good at their job, and their reputation is everything when it comes to buying that stuff. But there are still mistakes made, and there are things that have never been seen, or they've been, they're minor items and whatever, but they're being marketed in another way, but isn't going to make them an investment piece. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to invest, one of those companies, and hopefully with me as well in the future, if you get the story right, do the work behind the item, get it looked at by the people that created it even, and do your homework, get the item, do the homework, put it together as a package. You can improve upon the price when you've bought it. Even if you bought it at a reputable place, then do your homework. Make sure that everything is there as a package for your future in, selling or whatever. Then you can't really go wrong. Film props are a great item. Everyone loves film props, original costumes and whatever. And some of those programs you've
the
seen,
story behind
the
it, right?
stories behind the costumes and where they got things.
Yeah.
Like gladiator swords. And
not a lot of those on the market.
Funny that, isn't it?
Yeah,
Funny
no
that.
one managed to get
Yeah,
their hands
yeah.
on those, which is really interesting.
But it is that thing where you've got reputable companies out there. Do it right. That's it. That's really what I would say. And if you feel that something's wrong, if your gut tells you it's just not right, leave it.
But I was going to say, you've just opened up a couple of key questions there. Real quick on what do you think is probably the top or movie prop that's gone unnoticed and disappeared from someone over the years?
Wow.
And then what do you see realistically with movie props coming up, or memorabilia coming up in sort of films 2025 and onwards? Obviously, we now know schedules years down the line, don't we?
Yeah. I mean, that's quite a broad thing. The thing that's changed a lot for props, costume, and that kind of stuff is that it used to be that stuff would go out the back door of costume companies and whatever else. Don't laugh just because they're back door. That's just wrong. I know exactly. I've got a carry-on sense of humour. I know where you were at.
Still picturing you
mind in the gutter.
all different outfits. Yeah.
Just stop. That's for my other half, not you. No, the thing with it used to be that guys could walk off the set with a sword and hide it in the van. You wouldn't get away with it. But
warm in here, isn't it?
It is warm in here. Who's ever produced by? Oh god! Never steal from a Warner Brothers film. They're very hot. Anyway, no, the things that used to be not so governed, and companies like Angels, the costumers, have been around just forever, and still are, and still produce a costume for the best of the biggest films. But everyone has suddenly realised over the last, say, 20 years, 15 years. Actually, we've got some treasures that are going out on film sets being used in other productions, and things have turned up. And when I used to do the filming, we always used to look inside and see what the label said. On Shakespeare in Love, I had this terrible, I was a wolf rat. So I was like working on the river in these terrible old clothes, and this kind of tunic thing that I was wearing on the inside, it had a name. I can't remember the name offhand now. But it was used in a 1955, I think, production of Robin Hood. Oh, right. And I looked it up and found the star, and found all the similar costumes. But these things still go out there and get used and get used and get used. And it got to a point where Angels, I think it was sold through, Prop Store. They had the original Ben Kenobi gown, the
gown.
brown gown.
Yeah.
And that would have been going out and being used on monks and whoever else in different productions for decades, after. And then somebody realised what it was. Yeah.
How much did that go for, do you know?
I think it went for about 155,000, somewhere around there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an expensive dressing gown,
Well,
isn't it?
can you imagine? Yeah. It's a shame I didn't find that with the...
Yeah. That'd be nice.
But yeah, but it's been tightened up now.
Yeah.
So productions literally lock up everything after they've, after they've
pieces,
produced.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, wardrobe goes away.
Yeah.
Props go away. Swords and armor go back to companies. Go back to companies, and everything is locked away. So it's much harder to get those things. But some people, have agreements, and they have, ways to get these things as well.
So as I say, then what that move on to? What do you expect over, or are there any big films coming up of pieces that you all hope to maybe get your hands on yourself, or that you would for people to look out for?
Oh well, I almost had one of the Robert Pattinson bat belts just recently, and that slipped through my hands, unfortunately, and went to sale elsewhere.
Oh, no.
And I was quite gutted because that would have stayed with me. I loved the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pattinson did a great job, I thought. And so for me, it's Batman. I mean,
because there's a couple more of those scheduled, isn't
yeah,
there?
well, you just had the Penguin, and Penguin was fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's led the way to Batman 2, and we'll see who's appearing in that one. But I think there's as far as what's good for the future, what's coming up, it's still superhero, I think.
Yeah.
I may be wrong, but I think it's still superhero. If you can get a little trinket from that. But this is why companies like Sideshow, Prime One Studios, people like this, they're all producing, 1-to-1 scale replicas of costume pieces, daggers, amulets, whatever they've got.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the next best thing, because if you can't get the original, but you can get something that was taken from the same molds and all that, then that's where to look. And you say about investment, maybe the props are great, but they're few and far between and big money. But if you can buy a 1 of 50 piece that's produced to exactly the same specifications, and you can have it at home, and it will go up because it is 1 of 50 and it's still in desire. And you look at Star Wars all this time later, and if there's limited edition things that are being made for the fans in 20 years time, like Harry Potter now is, to my kids, is my Star Wars, so those things that have been go for it, go for that stuff, but I think that's the best thing.
Mm-hmm. And you've got obviously your first big auction coming up in February next year.
Yeah.
Have you got any of these types of pieces? Anything big?
I do.
That you can share with anyone?
I do. I've got quite a mix. So we have. And as much as you'll be disappointed that I didn't get to bring this morning as we talked, I did get and have for sale a Thuggy cult sword from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which I've been told off for this already this morning, of course. But the thing with it was coming on the train with a Thuggy cult sword, being stopped. Whilst that would have gone viral for you as a story, I'm sure.
Viral for you as well.
I'm not sure that the publicity would have been great for me, but all publicity is good publicity, right? But yeah, so I've got a Thuggy cult sword from Temple of Doom coming up. I have original.
You have promised to get us across a photo with
absolutely
the sword that we can show everybody problem. And whatever outfit you're wearing at the time.
Little obsessed there, little obsessed. So the sword, I'll definitely send you a photo. And
that's going in the auction.
That's going in the auction.
Oh, okay. So that's up for grabs.
Interested,
nice.
are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Someone's got to get a sword in this room, haven't they?
All right. I didn't bring it. Okay. I have original schematics from the lost episodes of Patrick Troughton's Doctor Who, Power of the Daleks.
Yep.
So they're schematics of sets and photos that all belong to Derek Dodd, who was the designer of sets and varying things of the time for Doctor Who, and they, as I say, the lost episodes, some of it they reanimated and put into cartoon from the scripts, but the shows themselves disappeared. So that they should do very nicely.
So for you, when you're looking at all these pieces, do you have sort of set prices you're hoping them to reach, or is it just the case of these are fantastic pieces of sets and history for people to own?
There's
please buy them.
Yeah, no, exactly. There's the please buy them thing definitely comes into it, because things like the Thuggy Colt sword, they do turn up every once in a while. The last one was, I think, 2018.
So not often then.
So not often. I think, that reached somewhere in the region of about 1800, somewhere around there. But there would have been a lot produced at the time. For there was a lot of thuggy hoodlums in the film. So there was a lot of swords made. But something like the schematics are very few and far between.
Yeah, it must be close to one of one, surely, if that's the case.
Exactly. I mean, there would have been the original drawings and then the prints used on set. And then once they were done and the show was done, scrapped. But it was because they were from the estate of Derek Dodd that they still exist. And when he passed away some years back, they came out and came, to fruition. So those will be key pieces because people just do not have them in their collections. They've not been reprinted. They've not been put out there in any form. And whilst to look at for most people, they won't actually be that interesting to the completist, to the fan, the collector. These are what they are, they're good investment pieces.
So do you have any celebrity stories? Any?
So you mean like who was bad, who was nice, who was good? That kind
Scandal.
Coming up to Christmas.
We want
you want
scandal.
You want the filth, don't you? You want the absolute
scandal.
Filth, don't you? Yeah. Well, oh gosh, let's have a think. Yeah. No, I can't tell you that one. She liked the Bob the Builder outfit. Actually, she loved the. No, that's wrong.
Same woman,
and so did he. Hang on. No.
It's warm in here.
When it goes back to the filming days, Russell Crowe dying lots of times was good, but meeting people, some people surprised you, some people don't. Hugh Grant, who is now he builds his own fame on his cantankerous nature, was an absolute dreamboat. He was wonderful. I worked on Notting Hill, and he couldn't have been any nicer.
Yeah.
Is
that why you've done your hair like him?
Ooh, get you! Russell Crowe light over there.
Brilliant. 1 second.
Let's just go for the full Timothy. That's right. That's okay. It's fine. Mr. T. Mr. T was one of my favourites. Yeah, that was going back a long time, mind you. He was in. I went to San Diego Comic-Con in 1992, and it was a great time for all that stuff because you could go up to anyone. They were just behind a simple table, and it wasn't kind of like 250 get in the line, all that kind of stuff. You could go up to people, but he was so popular. And he had a massive line, and I was due to go and catch a coach to get back to my family and leave the show. And I just spotted him, and I got a guy to take my camera, and I said, "Can you take a picture of me with Mr. T?" And he went into full B.A. Baracus mode on me and told me off. Yeah, I love that guy, and I still do, but it's still one of my most shameful moments. I literally had a big line of people all wait to get their Mr. T and the T-Falls comic signed, right? And I turned and went, Mr. T, can you just, do you mind? And he turned around to me and he literally, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to do the voice. I'm sorry, I'm going to say, I ain't taking no photo with you. You get in the queue like all the other good people. You want to see Mr. T? You get in the line. And I literally shriveled into a ball of shame and walked off. And I've still got a blurry picture. I've got the guy who just take the picture. And I've got him just kind of like blurred like this in the background, and me just
melting on the floor.
Oh my God. But you have to do the voice.
That's the full experience.
What political, thing that does. But honestly, it's just one of the funniest moments of my life, being told off by B.A. Baracus. While trying to get a photo. Oh my word!
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
That was a moment. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Yeah, there's no if you don't get shamed there's no shame anywhere, is there? Survive that, you make it for anything.
I'm not sure what that's going to do for publicity, but there you go. It is what
brilliant.
it is.
I'm sure if there's a couple of Mr. Team props coming up or memorabilia in your auction, are about to go through the roof.
Got the gold chains. Just bring them in.
Yeah. Wicked.
No, that was a moment.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good bombshell for us to
sort
of wrap that up on. That is absolutely absolutely fantastic. Thanks so much, obviously, coming in.
You're welcome.
Obviously, down here at Gallery House, 50 Baker Street. We're going to put all your links in for your auction
thank
for
you.
everybody to take a look at. And we hope everybody enjoyed that one.
Thank you.
Some cool stories. Anything for any shout from you, Rich?
Yeah, no, thank you very much for coming down. I think everyone's
welcome.
going to enjoy that one. Some good stories in there. And,
I hope so. Yeah,
and,
well, come down and see me at Tunbridge Wells 20th Century Lots, where hopefully we have some fun in February and sell and buy and some good things. Yeah,
definitely.
Thank you,
definitely
guys.
look out for that.
Lovely. Thanks
Amazing.
so much. We'll go give Alex and his new stuff a follow, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe to everything we've got going on, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Nice. Thank you.
Cheers.